With 139,000 kilometers of public roads, the Netherlands has one of the most dense road networks in the world, much denser than Germany and France. Dutch roads include at least 3,530 kilometers of motorways and expressways, and with a motorway density of 64 kilometers per 1,000 square kilometers. The country also has one of the densest motorway networks in the world. The Netherlands' main highway net, comparable to Britain's net of trunk roads, consists of most of its 5,200 kilometers of national roads, supplemented with the most prominent provincial roads. Although only about 2,500 kilometers of roads are fully constructed to motorway standards, much of the remainder are also expressways for fast motor vehicles only. Except for motorways and expressways, most roads support cyclists. Some 35,000 kilometers feature dedicated cycle tracks, physically segregated from motor traffic. A further 4,700 kilometers of roads have clearly marked bike lanes, and on other roads, traffic is calmed such that cyclists and motorists can safely mix. Busy junctions sometimes give priority to cyclists, and in street roads like Vierstraten and Woonaveen, bicycles always have priority over cars. Since 1997, a national traffic safety program called Duurzaam has had a major impact on the road network. Traffic calming has been applied on a massive scale. In 2009, more than 33,000 kilometers of extra-urban roads had a speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour, and over 41,000 kilometers of local roads were limited to 30 kilometers per hour, adding up to just over half of all roads. A popular calming measure is to replace intersections by roundabouts, of which there were over 4,800 in 2013, both in and out of town. Mobility on Dutch roads has grown continuously since the 1950s and now exceeds 200 billion km traveled per year, 3/4 of which are done by car, meaning that while Dutch roads are numerous, they are also used with one of the highest intensities of any road network. History. The first centrally planned highway system dates back to the early 19th century, when Napoleon was Emperor of France, and the Holland was annexed into the French Empire. In 1811, Napoleon decreed that a network of 229 paved imperial roads would be created, extending from Paris to the borders of his empire. In addition to systematic paving, the roads were all numbered, an innovation at the time. Construction of several imperial highways through Holland commenced. Amsterdam was connected to Paris by Route Imperiale No. 2. A section between Amsterdam and Utrecht is today still a part of the A2 motorway. After the country's liberation in 1813, Holland's new king continued the project but with Amsterdam at the center. The plan was expanded several times. In 1821, it projected 42 Rijksstraatwegen, which were built until 1850. Since 1927, this network was transformed into today's system of Rijkswegen in the Netherlands. The first motorway dates back to 1936, when the current A12 was open to traffic between Voorburg and Zoetermeer, near The Hague. Motorway construction accelerated in the 1960s and 1970s but halted in the 1980s. Current motorway expansion mostly occurs outside the Randstad. Roads by management. Roads are developed and maintained by authorities at all four administrative levels in the Netherlands. About 5,200 kilometers of national roads are controlled by central government agency Rijkswaterstaat, and the country's 12 provinces control about 7,800 kilometers of provincial roads. Most motorways are national roads, and the remaining national roads are mostly expressways. Only a few motorways are provincial ones, and they are much shorter and serve mostly regional traffic. Frequently, they used to be national roads. Road numbers counting 1 or 2 digits are mostly national roads, but those with 3 numbers are typically provincial roads. Municipality roads make up the bulk of the network, totaling some 120,000 kilometers. They are mostly local roads. Aside from the division in provinces, the Netherlands is also divided in 24 water management boards. Together with miscellaneous authorities, they own and control another 7,500 kilometers of roads. For some roads, it is because they are a physical element of water barriers, like dikes and dams, while others provide primary access to critical water control structures and may not even be open to the public. Roads by safety policy category. In 1997, the collective Dutch road management authorities reached agreement on a major traffic safety program called Duurzame Veilig. One of its principles is a clear categorization of roads into a small number of visually distinct and clearly recognizable designs to be applied consistently throughout the country. Three main categories were established. Stroomwegen, aimed at a consistent flow of large amounts of motorized traffic over long distances, and with a generally high speed. In the design of these roads, traffic flow is consistently paramount. Physical separation of traffic in opposite directions, controlled highway access and grade separation, without traffic lights. Motorways and expressways fall into this category. The usual maximum speeds are 130 km per hour for motorways, and 100 km per hour for regional flow roads. In the long term, the new road type, regional flow road, will reshape the existing collection of non-motorway expressways in the Netherlands. Gebiedensluitingswegen prioritize traffic flow on road sections but traffic exchange at intersections. Fast and slow road users are separated and so cycle tracks are segregated from the main carriageway. Intersections are at grade, aimed at the most effective traffic exchange in terms of changing direction, road type or speed. Junctions are in the form of roundabouts where possible, or otherwise have traffic lights. For motor traffic, the speed limits are 80 km per hour in the country and 50 or 70 km per hour in the built-up area. Arterial roads fall in this category. Erftoegangswegen connect individual properties to the rest of the road system. Traffic exchange takes place not only at intersections but also in between. Road users are pulling in and out of lots, and traffic modes mix. The street design must facilitate ingress and egress from vehicles as well as loading and unloading. A living function as well as a traffic function is intended. Speeds are therefore kept low, 60 km per hour on rural or regional access roads, and 30 km per hour on access roads in the built-up area, except for one-offs, where only 15 km per hour is allowed. Out of town, there should ideally be separate cycle tracks or at least clearly painted bike lanes. In town, there can be cycle lanes, but on smaller 30 km per hour roads, cyclists can typically mix with cars without problems. Among others, frontage roads and Fietsstraten are considered to be access roads. Roads by type. Outside of built-up areas, autosnelweg, or simply snelweg, is the Dutch designation for motorways or freeways. They are controlled access highways for fast motor vehicles only and are consistently built with multiple carriageways, guardrails and interchanges with overpasses. Since September 2012, the nationwide maximum speed has been raised to 130 km per hour, but on many stretches, speed is still limited to 120 km per hour or 100 km per hour. Dutch motorways may be used only by motor vehicles both capable and legally allowed to go at least 60 km per hour. To improve traffic flow, a common feature of Dutch motorways is peak, rush hour or plus lanes that allow motorists to use the hard shoulder in case of congestion. Less common but increasingly so, multiple carriageways are applied to separate local and regional traffic from through traffic. By splitting traffic in the same direction into parallel carriageways, the number of weaving motions across lanes is reduced, and the traffic capacity per lane of the road is optimized. Autosnelwegen are consistently numbered and signposted with an A and up to 3 digits, like A12. Motorways are by definition Stromwegen and most of them are national roads. Only a few shorter stretches are under provincial control. Autoweg is the designation for expressways that do not meet motorway standards. They are limited-access highways for faster motor vehicles only but built to varying standards. Designs range from dual carriageways, with full shoulders and grade separation, to single carriageways with just one lane per direction, no traffic barrier, and only intermittent shoulder patches called vluchthavens. Many intersections are at grade with traffic lights, or they are roundabouts. There can also be movable bridges in these roads. In either case, the speed limit is frequently reduced to 70 km per hour before one reaches the junction or the bridge. The general speed limit is 100 km per hour, unless marked otherwise. Only motor vehicles both capable and legally allowed to go at least 50 km per hour are allowed. Although Autowegen do not have to conform completely to the new Dutch design standard for regional flow roads, many of these roads require at least some upgrades. Otherwise, they are downgraded to the safety category of distributor roads and so lose their expressway status. Autowegen are always numbered and mostly signposted with an N and up to 3 digits, like N34. Almost all of these expressways are national or provincial roads. Other non-motorway highways that are not expressways either are simpler in design, with level intersections and mostly single carriageways. Nevertheless, many of them feature adjacent bicycle tracks. As far as these roads have regional significance, they are also numbered and to an extent signposted with an N and typically 3 digits. In that case, the roads are referred to as N roads. These roads are mostly categorized as distributor roads, with a speed limit of 80 km per hour. In principle, farm traffic and slow road users are not allowed. For them, there should be parallel roads like frontage roads or cycle tracks. In partially built-up, rural areas, the speed limit may drop to 60 km per hour, as indicated by signage. Provincial Road N377 is an example of an N road that is only partially in Autoweg. Primary N roads are numbered up to N400, and the numbers have to be on road signs. Although these roads can fall under any of the road management authorities, most are provincial roads. N roads of secondary importance are numbered 401 through 999, but the numbers are not frequently signposted. They serve a more local function. Over time, they are transferred from provinces to municipalities, and the numbers are dropped. From 1998 to 2007, more than 33,000 kilometers of roads have been converted to regional access roads with a speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour, so indicated by signage, and frequently in zones. Regional access roads are visually distinct from other roads having no road surface marking. Slower vehicles and non-motorized traffic are allowed. Busier roads have adjacent cycle tracks, but quieter ones have advisory bike lanes. Again, they can fall under any of the road management authorities. Within built-up areas inside of built-up areas, all roads are municipal. They are categorized only as either distributor roads or local access roads. Arterial roads and collector roads fall into the first category. Their maximum speed is 50 km per hour except for arterials with a dual carriageway, which may be 70 km per hour. Bicycle tracks have to be segregated. A special type of arterials is stadsroutes and city ring roads. Stadsroutes form a network of numbered arterials that connect parts of a city to a ring road or motorways running outside the city. City routes are signposted prefixed by an S and numbered from 100 or 101. When there is an S100 present, it is in the inner city ring road around the city centre. Stadsroutes can so far be found in 6 Dutch cities: Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague, Almere, Zaanstad and Nijmegen. Nijmegen has only its S100 centre ring operational, but other routes are in progress. Despite the way motorways and N-roads are numbered, city routes are not a national system. The same numbers can be used in every partaking city and are therefore not unique. Many other Dutch cities have constructed inner-city ring arterials without numbering them. From 1998 through 2007, more than 41,000 kilometers of city streets have been converted to local access roads with a speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour, for the purpose of traffic calming. Local access streets include frontage roads, Vierstraten and Woonaveen, although the legal status of the latter two is somewhat ambiguous. Woonaf, or legally just earth, is the Dutch term for a specific implementation of living streets, abundantly applied throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Although not officially a part of the Sustainable Safety Road categorization policy, the Woonaf is still a legally defined Dutch road type. The defining characteristic is that the living function of the street has official priority over its traffic function. Legally, pedestrians and children have priority over all other road users. They may use the full width of the street to walk and play. Road paving is more or less continuous. Under Article 45 of the Dutch Traffic Code, motorized traffic in a Woonaf is restricted to walking pace, which the Dutch Supreme Court has ruled to be 15 km per hour. Parking is also restricted. Although Woonaveen have come under pressure from the drive to implement zones of 30 km per hour local access streets, they are still prolific. In some places, new ones are still created, such as for space restrictions. In 2011, 20% of all Dutch homes were still located in Woonaf areas, and around 2 million people were living in Woonaveen. Vierstraat is not an official Dutch road type or category. The implementation comes down to paving the full width of the road as a cycle track, including the associated color. Signs are put up by the municipal authorities, informing motorists that they are guests and must yield to cyclists. Correspondingly, the road portion of the street is then legally considered to be a bicycle track with benefits instead of a road in the conventional sense. Trivia: the busiest Dutch motorway is the A16 in Rotterdam, with a traffic volume of 232.000 vehicles per day. The A12, near Utrecht, comes second at 220.000 vehicles per day. The busiest four-lane motorway in the Netherlands is the A10 in the Koen Tunnel, in Amsterdam, with 110.000 vehicles per day. The widest Dutch motorway is the A15, A16, just south of Rotterdam, with 16 lanes, in a 4+4+4+4 setup.